Okay, our session now is about accelerating digital transformation of the economy and instilling a culture of leadership and innovation among the youth. This session will highlight the initiatives and measures taken by the government and the private sector to boost and contribute towards the digital transformation, instilling the culture of leadership and innovation among Emirati youth and support their creative projects. In line with the Abu Dhabi government's directives and strategies to build a strong economy based on knowledge and innovation. It's our pleasure to be participating in this virtual event of Abu Dhabi, the future. I would like to introduce myself. Long and joyful journey in Canada, gaining a master's degree in leadership, to being a math and science teacher, to being a curriculum specialist, to taking the responsibility of establishing and leading a training center in Masdar city. Camel Academy helps students ages 3 to 17 develop their whole personalities, enrich their creativity and innovation skills, and improve self-esteem. As the pandemic continues, we have transformed the service into a digital portal, T-Share, which is an online platform of Takamul edutainment activities, recorded or live lessons for pre-K to grade 12 learners. T-Share is now part of a national initiative in UAE called Our Children is Our Responsibility, which aims to provide the Emirati child with the tools of leadership and future excellence. In this panel discussion, we welcome our professional speakers, Mr. Abdullah Naimi, Acting Deputy Chief Executive, Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange, ADEX, Mr. Philip King, Global Head of Retail Banking in Adib, Mr. Responsible Business Lead, Middle East in Exchange. We welcome first Mr. Abdullah Naimi, Acting Deputy Chief Executive in Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange. Abdullah Naimi has 22 years experience in investment banking, financial technology, and capital markets. He's the head of market operation in ADEX since 2014, holding master's degree in security and strategic studies and bachelor's degree in production and operation management. Welcome, Mr. Abdullah Naimi. Let's start with our questions. Moving from transformational technology to transformation economy, what do you think are the stages and measures taken by ADEX for digital transformation economy?
First, thank you for hosting me in this event. And before you because your the question has two elements really, why and how. And why, let's return back to history in 2001, .com events or bubble. We always related to the stock exchange when they said .com bubbles. And the .com, the new technology that appears at that period, okay, and during that period, it's changing the business model in all aspects and changing the environment of the interaction between the customers. That experience introduced a new thing, the experience economy. We're changing from the traditional economy to the experience economy that build an efficiency, same in efficiency and effectiveness, but it's add another element, the experience of the investors or the customers. And now we are moving from the experience to digital economy or transformation economy. Transformation economy building the experience mainly, and the transformation economy is not one size fits all approach. No, it's hugely personalized and rely on two things mainly, an active, motivated, and interested investor. From that, we drive our strategy, how we embed all these changes in our operations. And we come with different initiatives to support our ecosystem. One of the initiatives that launched last year, Sahmi, we try to reduce the total operation and interactive of the customers with our organization, and to minimize the interaction and keep it more efficient in time, and also effective in terms of the quality of the interaction. And we depend mainly also on the feedback, because the experience is driving the current economy. Excuse me, I think you mute your mic is mute.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. How does ADIX use the measures to boost and contribute towards the digital transformation for the future of Abu Dhabi's economy?
See, ADIX, it's if we see ADIX, it's a platform. They're interacting with the different parties, and we can summarize in three levels. One, bringing the capital to the ideas. Second, bring the product to customer. Third, to let the customer exchange the product. We work on those three levels and try to digitalize those processes in three levels. An example, in the first one, bring the capital to idea, we automatize all the IPO process and reduce the experience, what they call it, the mis-experience that before in the market, and digitalize it and make it more accessible by the investor anywhere, everywhere, at any time. And also reduce the operation that done in our market participants, especially the bank. In terms of trading and back office operation, the CSD, also we work with our market participant to reduce the interactions, or let's say, do digitalize the process and reduce the interaction and make it more efficient, fast, and easy to be used.
Okay, ADIX has partnered with a range of education institutions across the UAE since 2011 to promote financial literacy. How does ADIX support them to boost the culture of leadership and innovation among Emirati youth?
It's a long strategy. It's built around our partnership with the different university in UAE. One of them, Abu Dhabi University, the other it's Hyde College of Technology, and other university. And we took it in different stage. We start with lectures and awareness for the student, only to see their expectation and raise their awareness about the capital market and exchange. After that, we move to let them have an experience with the exchange. We introduce a stock game. Under the stock game, we took two levels really in a stock game. First level, we build our reward in return. After that, we noticed that the students start understand the stock exchange. We move to our reward to a strategic. How will you build your strategic regarding trading? We reach a stage with that, okay, now the awareness, we have the level that we want from in terms of the awareness. We move it to the research. And Alhamdulillah, this year's Hyde College of Technology published 3 research. One in cryptocurrency, one SME risk assessment, and the other international financial report standards. In addition to that, we work with the Hyde College of Technology of building a small exchange in the block exchange. This is really a huge milestone we get with the university. Now we agree in the third and final stage, the implementation of those research and how the reflect of those research in our market, and how this will touch also our market participants.
It's very good news to hear that. What is the future plan of edX to support the private sector in boosting the culture of leadership and innovation among Emirati youth?
See, in ADX, we believe in youth, and we think that the youth will drive the future. For that reason, if I continue from the previous question, the last stage is the implementation of their research. This is to empower them and let them to understand they are part from this economy, one thing. Second, to give our private sector a real life applications that done by those students. We merge the two together. And this is really will, inshallah, we'll see a huge impact in next years when we see the integration between the education entities with the private sector, banks, insurance companies, exchanges, and all those companies. And we'll see the interaction between them solving the problem. Always we need to use the education or theory to solve our problem in the business sectors. The gap now, there is a gap, and we try to bridge that gap. And I think we are now in the final stage and a major milestone. Really, the education entities is working hard with us. We reach a major milestone by publishing the research, working in different areas also. And now we are moving to the next stage, inshallah.
Inshallah, very good to hear that, and we wish all the best for all the youth and the Emirati children by your edX. Okay, now we'll go to Mr. Philip King, Global Head of Retail Banking in Adib. Mr. Philip King is the Global Head of Retail Banking at Adib. He joined the bank in 2013 with over 3 decades of banking experience across Europe, the Americas, and the Middle East. Mr. King is currently directing the strategy to grow Adib into a leading retail bank in terms of revenue, market share, and its presence in the expat market. He has achieved growth in excess of past performance and above market rates through revenue acceleration initiatives, by driving nascent lines of business such as wealth management and bank insurance, and by launching marketing and branding campaigns to target the expat market. Mr. Philip also directs strategic initiatives, including network expansion, digital strategy, contact center optimization, and digitalization. Hello, Mr. Philip.
Hello, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. I hadn't realized we'd done so many things. It's very kind of you. Thank you, everyone. And good afternoon to everyone. Yeah.
Okay, let's start with the questions. What are the main areas and components of digital transformation in Adib, specifically during the outbreak of COVID-19?
Thank you. This is very interesting that there's almost like a pre-COVID-19 and a post-COVID-19. Pre-COVID-19, like many banks, so I guess many institutions, we had our digital transformation strategy moving, and we built customer journeys across a few key products for personal finance, customer onboarding, and covered cards or credit cards in the conventional sense. But of course, I think COVID-19 came and brought a different sense of the need for acceleration to all of the digital transformation that we were doing. And it was more focused on how do we help our staff, how do we help our clients interact with the bank and interact through the mobile app, but also if they needed to have some sort of conversation physically, how did we do that in a COVID-19 environment where social distancing was in place, where people were concerned about leaving their homes and interacting? So there are a couple of things we developed. We actually very quickly moved into an agile development scenario, which is obviously our digital transformation had helped that, but at the core of the head office hadn't yet quite moved fully in that way. But we found that we quickly switched from silo management into agile management. And within the space of 2 or 3 weeks, we were able to launch an interactive video application on mobile that enabled us to sell products and service customers, our existing customer base, without physical interaction. So they could apply and digitally sign for through OTP methodology for personal finance products. We extended that into our covered cards, as I say, the credit card business. And now we've even extended that into the wealth management business. So we had, it was actually working with a fintech, and it was the first ever Islamic global remote sales platform that had been developed. So this is actually, I think this is something we were extremely proud of. We developed, again, very quickly, as you probably realize, a lot of our customers are Emirati. Some 40% of our customer base is Emirati, so they're very close to our hearts. So we developed a chat-based interaction via WhatsApp, where you could actually chat with us, but you could also do it in the Emirati language, if you like. So we did a combination of that just to tailor it a little bit to the customers. And the whole digital piece also enabled our customers. Now, for instance, 50% of our accounts are opened online. And that's up 5-fold since the same period last year. 78% of our customer base are digitally active, and some 15 to 20% of our customer base only ever interact with us through digital channels. So we've made a massive, I would say, a seismic shift since the pre-COVID times through enhancing all of the capabilities and services that customers require to be delivered through digital platforms, be it the mobile app, be it updating your KYC details, where in the past you would come to the bank, you can do it all remotely. You can buy your products now remotely. You can chat with us, or you can call our call center. And if, let's say, if you feel confident, as we all, I think we're becoming more and more confident now that most of us, hopefully, inshallah, have had the vaccination. If you do interact with us in our branch, we have social distancing, we have the perspex barriers there to protect people and keep everything safe. We sanitize, we defog if necessary, regularly sanitize during the day, all of our physical presences as well. So I think there's a number of really good things that we've done to transform the digital capabilities of the organization during this pandemic.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, as customers of Adib, we can tell that, yes, you are doing a great job, and we are really enjoying the digital service. Okay, how can digital leaders, in your opinion, build a culture of innovation in their organizations?
I think it's, of course, leadership has to lead, and we've broken down barriers. We've set new challenges for people, whereas in the old days things would be done in a waterfall approach. We've moved to the agile approach. As I say, we've launched new products, new services in the space of weeks that pre-COVID might have taken us months. And I just think the whole focus from the leadership has been to encourage the digital approach in everything we do, because the physical channels will exist. We still have a belief that digital with a human touch is successful. That's our belief, because you have to have some interaction, but that physical interaction can be remote if you choose, or it can be as I say, face to face. But I think the whole premise around how we've approached data as well has been very important. We've created a center of excellence for analytics. It's called the Analytics Center of Excellence, ACE, and that is a leadership drive that actually now is filtering through everything that we do in our organization. So we measure the digital transformation of every element of our business, be it the branch interactivity with clients, be it the call center. Any channel now has data analytics driving it. Plus, the future digital capabilities are being designed on the back of that data. And because we have a digital lab inside the organization that we created as part of our transformation strategy, all of the trials and test bed of these future product rollouts are running through that digital lab, which we've invested in, and we have superb engineers and technicians working in that. So I think the whole leadership strategy has to shift very fast into encouraging digital thought, digital training, digital innovation, and making sure that the whole digital vocabulary and context is at the heart of everything we do.
Yes, sure. Mr. Philip, would you explain to us how does Adib contribute toward the digital transformation of Abu Dhabi's economy?
So we're very supportive of all of the fintechs. We've worked with fintechs on various propositions on gamification, as I mentioned, also the sales platform that we put in place, the e-dirham platform that we've launched alongside a couple of other banks. There was an incumbent bank we've joined in the program now for the government that is digital. We've really supported all of the Abu Dhabi propositions when it comes to engaging with fintechs. We see them as partners. There are many things we can learn. They bring an agile capability that sometimes, even though we're moving to agile ourselves, we don't have. So there's do you build it or do you buy it? Do you partnership with somebody to actually get something quickly to market? We're very willing and have been participating actively with fintechs. And I think this will increase as you look at many areas of Abu Dhabi's focus, which would be around RegTech, around payments, and around the government payment platforms in particular. So Adib is very much, I would say, at the forefront of those activities.
Thank you so much. Mr. Philip, in line with Abu Dhabi government's directive and strategies to build a strong economy based on knowledge and innovation, how can retail banking of Adib support private sectors in instilling a culture of leadership and innovation among the youth? And what are its future plans concerning this?
So the youth is very, very, very important for us. Clearly, as I mentioned, there's a very, very strong focus on Emirati youth. Clearly, any youth that is part of the economy here is welcome, but we really want to ensure that the Emirati youth is well served, and well served and well trained and well educated. So financial education has been very, very important for us throughout, at least certainly my tenure here at the bank. And the interesting thing is that we've moved away from a more physical interaction where we would have youth accounts, many of which names would be known as the Darhum and the Banoon and so on and so forth. But we're now doing these accounts digitally. We've launched a Gen Y proposition for the millennials, which has proven extremely popular, and we've developed that. And one of the core tenets of that proposition is to have a community, so we should call the smart banking community, where people can join, discuss needs, understand products, understand how finance works, etc., and also a banking app attached to it. And you can be a member of the community without being a member of the banking app and Adib, if you wish. We're open to everyone. Clearly, we have gamification as an element within that, which encourages people to move from the community into the app with us. And we'll be developing more. I can't give more secrets away, but we're really focusing now on capturing the digital aspirations of the youth, in particular Emirati youth, and we will make sure that the financial education lies at the heart of that. The parental engagement is also there, such that there's an element of comfort both between parent and child, but the child senses enough freedom to manage their affairs. But also we will put some elements that encourage reward if you do well at your school, if you do well in your homework, if you do well in various things. So that whole element of capturing the youth, capturing their hearts, minds, getting them engaged digitally, but also ensuring that the financial education and performance enhancement is there, so you're motivating them. It's part of our proposition for them. And we will do that in-house or partnering with fintechs as well. So we will have a combination on this. But I must add also that within the organization, we have our traditional training programs. We have Tamkeen, we have Qiyadat, which are all the leadership programs we have for our Emirati staff. And many of them, of course, are very, very young, and they're the future leaders of our organization. All of my area managers are Emirati. All of my branch managers, bar maybe one or two who are in very remote areas, are Emirati. And the senior leaders, across my organization, my direct reports as the head of this business, many Emiratis. So the cadre of development within the organization is really very, very strong and focused on developing Emirati leadership.
Thank you so much, Mr. Philip. We are really happy to hear that useful information about your involvement in Emirati's youth future. And we'd love to see more involvement also for the children, especially the school-aged children also. Thank you so much, Mr. Philip. And we'll move now to Mr. Safder Nazar. Senior Vice President, Digital Industry Strategy in Hawaii, Middle East. Mr. Safder heads Hawaii Digital Industry Center of Excellence, prior to which he has held various leadership roles in global blue chip companies. With over 25 years of experience across the world in industries from smart cities to telecom B2B service, Mr. Safder has enabled global companies to deliver exceptional results in new lines of business. Key to this success has been innovative use of technology to drive business transformational outcomes. How are you, Mr. Safder?
I'm humbled by the introduction. Thank you very much. And
thank you, sir.
Fellow panelists.
Okay, so let's start with the first question. Hawaii is a well-known technology company, but what is Hawaii's perspective on digital transformation? And is there anything unique about Hawaii in its domain, in this domain?
Sure. So I'm sure many people will have heard the name Huawei, probably quite famous for mobile phones and devices, but it's actually, we started off in the carrier space. So companies like Etisalat and Do have been working with Huawei for a long time. But in terms of the digital transformation, which everyone wants to talk about, which is very good because we've got the conversation going, but what do we actually mean by it? At least our understanding of that is, if we break it down into three different things, which is, and three different terms which you'll hear, which is digitization, digitalization, and digital transformation. The way we'd see it is where we use that technology to transform the way we do business and to transform the way we interact. And as an example, I joined Huawei just over 7 years now. And in that time, our revenue per employee has more than doubled, right? So that's a testimony to our own digital transformation. So we are able to do a lot more with the same, roughly the same amount of people. And those people, more than 50% of Huawei people are in R&D. So what makes us a little bit unique is, whereas many companies are using technology, there are fewer companies that actually create new things, or we call blue sky research, so fundamental basic research. But Huawei does a lot in this space, and spending tens of billions in the last few years in doing this type of development, of which only a small part becomes commercialized, right? So maybe less than 5% might end up being normally commercialized from that. But there's steps and stages in between, which is the applied research, and that's where we work with our global customers in terms of developing solutions for real world stuff. So yes, we have engineers that do blue sky, thinking and creating things, and we are a technology company. So our job is to create technology and then also make sure that that is as useful for businesses and for life. And that's where we work with our customers around the world to see how we can best implement and utilize that technology that's been created. So that, I think, is something a little bit unique in terms of Huawei.
Thank you so much, Mr. Safder. As a leading tech company, can you share what is Huawei doing to help develop talent in the UAE, especially for children and youth?
Yeah, so I mean, just picking up from what I was saying is that if we look at the technology stack to do digital transformation, in our view, would be everything from the connectivity. And if we look here in the UAE, for example, and Philip was talking about the COVID-19, and one of the first things I did when I was going into lockdown was to upgrade my broadband connection at home. And so, I'm sure a lot of people did the same thing. And we're fortunate that the country and the leadership has taken a very forward-looking view about infrastructure investment. So there was that headroom to allow us to be able to do that and to do a lot more digital interaction. So from the connectivity layer, we then see there's a compute layer. So there's what we might say is data centers and cloud technologies, and on top of that AI. And then we can do many great things with that, including the digital and sharing economy. And people might talk about the gig economy and things like that. So this is all driven by the ability to interact electronically. So we make this across that stack, from the from the connectivity to the cloud to the AI. We have a number of programs that we've been running in the UAE since we started back in 2008. We have a number of programs. In fact, in GITEX in December last year, we launched a program for training 10,000 UAE nationals, right, in terms of developing the ICT talent pool. But before that, we've had a number of programs running back since 2008. We have something called the Future Seeds program, which started in 2008, but then in 2016, we partnered with the UAE TRA in doing that. And in the last year, we were running more than 150 projects with 500 plus students, 60% of which happen to be females, and 90% of the total are UAE nationals. And this is going on across 16 universities across the UAE. But beyond that, we actually also have Huawei academies in 8 universities in the UAE, including from Ras Al Khaimah to Ajman to Sharjah, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi, where we have Huawei academies focused on AI. So what we're doing there is, besides donating equipment that the students can work on to do AI development, they're also able to leverage Huawei cloud capabilities to help them. And there's a number of training programs, and we use a train the trainer program for the professors to help the students along in their knowledge development in terms of cloud and AI technologies, which is really what's going to enable the digital economy in the future, in having that strong talent pool. And then finally, I think we top that off with having internship programs, which includes some theoretical, taking people to our headquarters, offices, and so on, where they can get to be familiar with labs and all of the breadth of things that happen in a company like Huawei, as well as on-premise, hands-on practical work as well. So people can really get an experience of what it's like to work in a leading tech company.
Thank you so much, Mr. Safdar. Great to hear that. Okay, what factors do you think can help accelerate the digital economy from your experience?
Well, I think Philip talked very nicely about what's happened in terms of the COVID-19 impact. But I think in addition to that is that I use a term called the great reluctance. That things are not going to go back to how they used to be. And it might take a very long time before people are even comfortable being without a mask, or being close to people, or where we can remove these barriers and screens, and people are willing to be next to each other. And this is across the board, because it's becoming a habit, and therefore a reluctance to actually go out and do things. Whereas, because I now have all digital channels to do things on, well, do I really want to go into a physical building? I mean, I personally, enjoy being out and meeting people, but I can understand that a lot of people probably be quite reluctant or become used to not doing that, and used to using the digital channels only, which could have, it will reshape the way we might do things. And you've seen some very big global companies even, take a different view on what they want to do with their office space. So there's going to be some change, and we should be ready for that change. And how do we handle it, and how do we tackle it? So, as I mentioned, the basic fundamentals of the having a digital economy is we need to have connectivity. So some good work has been done in the past, but that needs to continue. And luckily in the UAE, there's a very forward-looking view about technologies like 5G and F5G, which is the fixed network, or the fiber network to support that. This is another standard being worked on by an organization called ETSI to allow all this connectivity to happen. There's a good move towards more cloud adoption, which is going to be, again, an enabler for the digital economy, where it reduces people's CapEx investment, and they can go for more OpEx type models, which again will help accelerate the digital economy. And then, of course, being able to use AI. And now this talent pool that we hope to develop, and not just Huawei, all the ecosystem of companies developing the local talent here, means that a country like the UAE can punch well above its weight from an economy perspective, because you're not restricted in the digital economy. You're not restricted by geographical boundaries and how much space you might have to put factories and things like that, because the digital economy, you don't need to be dependent on that part of it, and also on any population limitations and so on. So you can definitely punch well above your weight if you have the right skills being developed on the right technologies to enable you to really work out on the digital economy. And we see this as the part of the economy which is really going to accelerate and get people out of the slump of COVID-19 and the impact it's had on the overall economy. So the digital part of it will accelerate significantly faster than the traditional economy.
Thank you, appreciate that, Mr. Safder. Now we'll go to Mr. Gian Mario Baisano, Managing Director, Consulting Lead and Responsible Business Lead in Middle East Accenture. Mr. Gian Mario is an Accenture senior leader who managed international consulting portfolios, built new teams, and helped clients shape and execute complex change programs. With over 20 years experience in consulting, working at the intersection between business and technology across Europe and the Middle East. His main focus has been digital transformation, strategy, design, and implementation. Mr. Gian Mario has a keen professional and personal interest in digital social innovation, impact investing, gender inclusion, and the future role of governments. How are you, Mr. Gian Mario? Hello.
Thank you. I'm very well. I try to help clients. I hope I succeeded at least occasionally.
Inshallah, yes. Okay, based on Accenture experience, how has the global pandemic changed government's perspective on digital transformation?
Thanks, Simon. This is a good question, right? Because we've been talking about the private sector a lot. But I think this pandemic has been a reminder of the importance of strong government. When you face systemic crisis, I mean, you remember the financial crisis in 2008. I mean, there are times when governments save the day. And if you look at the immense financial packages governments all over the world are putting in place, I mean, they certainly focus on helping now people in need with subsidies, of course, but they also focus on investing now into the future. And almost all of those packages include three major investment areas: environmental sustainability, to prevent the next crisis, I guess; research and education, to make our systems, national systems, more resilient; and finally, digital transition. So the idea of accelerating the new ways of working and delivering public service that have emerged in the last 12 months. And I see two big areas in particular. It's kind of obvious, but it's important to remember digital healthcare is going to be very big going forward. There are a couple of areas that have shown to be super critical. I think of patient data. Patient data availability in an efficient public healthcare system has proved to be very useful in saving lives. And I think of Singapore performance in taming the pandemic early on, or the UK NHS performance in rolling out a very successful vaccination campaign. And that is partly based on availability of good data. And telemedicine, of course, I mean, that's a way to treat patients at home and ensure that they don't clog hospitals, which is never a good thing, is that financially not very efficient, and in a pandemic is a disaster. But the other big area, I mean, is probably education. Now, schools have had to become much better at delivering distance learning, and our children were much more ready than we are. I have experienced this personally and professionally. Similarly to work, it is likely that a hybrid physical virtual model will emerge in education as well, children and youth in the same way. And this means that digital education platforms, infrastructure, and learning platforms will become a major priority for governments going forward. I guess these are some ideas about your question. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much for the ideas. How is the consulting industry globally and in the Middle East changing as a result of the global pandemic, in your opinion?
You see, it's like for governments and many other industries, the pandemic has probably accelerated some of the trends that we were already seeing in the global consulting industries and in the consulting industries in the Middle East, which is a big consulting industry, by the way. I think that the most striking effect of the pandemic was consulting virtualization. Like everything else, we started delivering our services remotely. And today we have data to say that over 90% of consulting clients globally have had to accept the idea of working with consulting teams that are entirely based in other countries. What we also know is that 50% of them, so half of our clients, are actually happy with that arrangement and will continue to do so. Why they are happy? Well, for many reasons. The main one is that they could access global expertise that otherwise they could have not accessed easily, fishing from the local talent pools. And they realized that coordinating large multidisciplinary teams is actually better done virtually than in person. That is a big wave of change. It was already happening, now it's happening much faster. The second important confirmation we got during the pandemic is the importance of data. I know availability of data and tools to make sense of those data requires from consultants new skills. Consultants need to be able to select relevant data, analyze them through the right models, derive meaningful insights, and present them impactfully to their clients. Now, the consultant of the future will be both domain experts and data scientists, for sure. Now, what are the implications for young Emiratis that look into consulting as a professional, as a job, once they are done with school and college? Well, the first thing is it's important to be deep in an area of expertise. I mean, this is no job for generalists, but you need to become very proficient in a domain, be it a functional domain or an industry domain. The second thing I would recommend is that it is important to be ready and open to work virtually with people from different cultures and different backgrounds. Working in a small team in a physical location with people from all over the world is difficult, but working with the same team virtually is even more difficult. So emotional intelligence, ability to understand and adapt is going to be even more important than before. And finally, as you said, data fluency. I mean, mastering at least the basics of artificial intelligence and the art of speaking through data. I mean, this is not just for consulting, it's, I guess, for everyone. Back to you. You are on mute, Ayman.
Okay, thank you so much. How does Accenture support the development of cultural leadership and innovation among the Emirati youth?
So Accenture is active in the UAE community, and we help young talent, especially with skills for the future, right? And I think of many examples. I mean, the E7 Daughters of Emirates program, the Young Arab Media Leaders program. Obviously, we are part of the Moishari 1360 Student Forum. We are the digital partner of Expo 2020, and in that capacity, we help young entrepreneurs through the Expo Live program. But perhaps the most important work we do to help the local youth is by working with our clients. I think of big clients like Mubadala or Fab, to help them understand which tasks and jobs will be automated away by technology over the coming years, I mean on a 5 to 10 years horizon, and how their workforce needs to evolve and adapt, which skills will be more important, how they should help the education system in the UAE and their own corporate learning organizations to prepare the next generation of professionals and the next generations of leaders. And of course, reskilling and upskilling the current employees. We don't want to forget the people that today are already in the labor market. So I feel that probably helping clients understand the future of work is the best thing Accenture, a company like Accenture, can do to contribute to the future prosperity of this country.
Okay, thank you so much, everybody. And since we have still a few more minutes, I would like to open like an open discussion between you, the guest speakers, if you would like to ask any question to each other. And at the same time, I have one question. It's open to all of you if you like to answer it. What do you think, from your experience, the role of effective leadership in digital transformation? Anyone? It's open to anyone who wants to answer.
Let me break the ice. There are aspects of digital transformation that require leaders to probably diversify their skills. On the one hand, they need to become more technology savvy. For some leaders, especially the youngest, this is more natural. For leaders that have been in the business for a longer time, it can be a little harder. But technology is today so pervasive that as a business leader, you need to get a little bit of a detail as well. It's not just generic, superficial knowledge might not be enough. And the other thing is that soft skills are more and more important if you want to be successful in a digital and technology transformation. You've got to understand the impact technology has on people, and you need to limit the disruption that technology can create in your workforce. We used to call it change management a long time ago. I think it's a little bit more than change management now. It's condition for survival in organizations that go through big digital changes. Digitization will not replace work 100%. It will not replace people 100%. We need to create a new relationship between technology and humans, and that requires a lot of soft skills from leadership. I guess that would be my take.
Yes, very, very important. Yes, go ahead, Mr.
Let me build on what Gian Mario was saying. And actually, from a technology company's perspective, the technology part is the easy part, or the easier part, let's say. The more challenging part is how do we apply it and how do we get people to come along with us? And rightly, as you're saying, we used to call it change management. But in terms of effective leadership, it means you've got to have a very clear vision or idea of what you want to realize in the future. So what does the future look like? And then have a structured program of transformation to reach that. And that's why so a digital transformation, not something that you click your fingers and overnight something just appears. You have to go through a process of making. It's like if you wanted to fit out or refit out an aeroplane while it's in flight. So your business still needs to continue, you cannot just usually you don't have the opportunity just to shut everything down whilst you get on with your transformation. Things need to continue. So this requires a lot of skills in terms of being able to manage that change through, bringing people along with you in that, and not to be fearful of the technology. But I'd also say there's a lot of things that we can probably do. Usually there's a lot of things that can be probably done with no technology or very little technology. And then there's some things that you can do better with technology, and some things are clearly impossible without technology. So start with the lower hanging fruit, which is easier to do sometimes. And when we have these grand ideas, we shoot very high, and that we want to use AI for something we don't know exactly what we want to use it for, but just because everybody else is doing it, we want to use AI. Okay, sure. But where does that fit in your transformation journey? And I'm sure that's where there's a lot of opportunity and for our consulting friends and partners, and Huawei acts as an advisor in many ways in that. We're not in the consulting space, but in terms of knowing, okay, how do we put these things into a logical order to get us from A to B? So I think it requires a very good leadership and to bring people along on that journey.
Thank you so much, Mr. Safder. Would you like to add anything, Mr. Abdullah?
Yes, a small comment, compliment of what Mr. Safi said. In strategical, in my opinion, strategical point of view, digitalization, it's just a tool, okay? And we should be careful about that tool. We need it today, maybe tomorrow we have something new. We see from our experience, everything is changing. It depends also on what we have and what we need. Really, when we talk about digital transformation, should be a part, used as a tool, and you are executing your strategy. Now, as a leader, you need to build a right strategy for a future. Then you choose or pick what the right tool to execute your strategy. This is my point or comments.
A very important point. Thank you, Mr. Abdullah. Anyone has any question?
Yeah, I just wanted, if I may, Iman Philip King here from Adib, just to add that I think, clearly the points that have been mentioned so far, go without saying that they're absolutely spot on. In our experience here, I think that the leadership enabled us to move quickly from a waterfall to agile process around how we developed our products, and that was by encouraging the soft skills, which was mentioned. And I remember when we started on our digital transfer journey, the buzzword seemed to be fail fast. I don't know that that is as used as much as it was in those days, but certainly you should not be too harsh on things that don't work out, because some of these new ideas, these new digital transformations, they don't always bring the success. KPIs, etc., aren't always met, but you have to understand why, and you have to really reflect on them and try and improve next time around. And I think the whole cultural transformation is one of the key things. And I'm not a technologist. I know Safda and maybe some of our other panelists, they're more technology driven, but in my experience, the technology will work. The issue is whether you've set it up to work in the way that your customers will benefit from it. And whether you've really thought around it. It's not just about putting a new piece of tech out there. It'll cost you a lot of money, and it'll be very painful if you haven't designed it based on your customer, the desired customer outcomes. So I think that is a very important point that all of us have to think carefully through. The tech will work. You have to make it work for your customer and for you. And I think then clearly we will keep on digitizing and improving as we go forward.
Thank you so much. We really thank and appreciate our respected speakers for their time, who highlighted in this session how the private sectors work hand in hand with the public sector into driving innovation in all aspects of our lives, actually, and how they support the Abu Dhabi government in creating digital solutions for challenges and fostering innovation in youth and children. Thank you again, Mr. Abdullah Naimi, Acting Deputy Chief Executive in Abu Dhabi Securities Exchange. Thank you, Mr. Philip King, Global Head of Retail Banking in Adib. Thank you, Mr. Safder Nazir, Senior Vice President, Digital Industries Strategy in Huawei Middle East. And thank you, Mr. Gian Mario Baisano, Managing Director, Consulting Lead and Responsible Business Lead, Middle East Accenture. We are also grateful to Abu Dhabi leaders in Abu Dhabi Department of Economy who boost Emirates' digital future and its plans to become a leading hub for technology and innovation in the Middle East. Thank you so much and Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you all.
Salam.
Thank you.
Salam.
Ma'as salam.